Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Think Big podcast. You have your man Marlon, Mr. Mindset Marlon. You have Sam Singh and myself, Alejandro Alvarez. If you came here to know how to make $100,000, I want you to think about how to make $100 million. Think big, my friend. Think big. Do not come here with the small and self doubt of self belief and all that stuff. We're here to make you think big. Mr. Marlon, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing pretty dang good. Recovering a little bit from a long couple of weeks. So,
Yeah.
just been kind of in recovery mode, but excited to be here tonight. Excited for the topic we got in store. Excited to, today I'm going to be learning from Sam. I think Sam's got some wisdom to drop if his camera. I don't know
Oh my
what's going on with
God.
his camera. I got no clue, quite
He's,
frankly.
he's doing the thing, he's
I'm doing the thing, man. I'm doing the
Yeah.
thing. Give me a minute.
Cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
Sam's
full of
turned into
gel.
an amorphous AI. So my theory about when I first met him was absolutely correct. Sam is actually a bot from India, and he's not even a real person. And now everyone knows.
This is true. Completely true. I'm not real at all.
Yo,
Marlon,
imagine.
I think you're always on recovery mode, bro, because you're always doing some epic shit every day, bro.
Yeah, but like eventually, like now my body had like officially it caught up to me. Like it for sure got up to me these last 2 days.
Really?
So yeah, so it's like it's been a little bit of a rest and recovery here over at like the Mindset Manor, at least in my room, in my wing of the house. I've been like in total lockdown. I mean, like blinds have been closed. I have like doors been locked. I've been in deep isolation all day.
I have a question. You know what? This is perfect timing since you have your blinds closed and everything. What are your thoughts on working in an actual office, right? Like in a building somewhere around people compared to working from home? What are your thoughts on that, brother?
Personally, I think it's preference. It's a trade-off, right? I actually like working with people.
Mhm.
My personality type, obviously. So when I'm working at home, I still do bust out the virtual office. Me and Keston were talking the other day, and like we were bringing back some of the VO vibes.
Yeah.
Um, I do prefer to work in person if I have the right people around me. Now, if I'm
Right.
working in person and the environment isn't conducive to productivity and growth, then I don't have as much of a desire. I've left jobs in the past that the environment for me personally felt toxic, and I just didn't enjoy it. But I've also had jobs that were very low pay, but
Yeah.
very high pay with like a social currency that kept me around really much longer than it should have. And because of that, I learned a lot of valuable lessons about the importance of environment. And like really, environment is something that's so valuable that people would be willing to trade not only their money for, but also their time. So that's kind of my answer. In fact, in the future, I do a part of my vision for my own personal. Um, I think you guys already know this. Like, I optimize for lifestyle more than anything else, like with business and everything. So everything at the end of the day leads back to like my life being better, not necessarily building like the Death Star.
Yeah.
I know everyone like optimizes their growth towards a different end.
Yeah.
Mine is all about relationships and just like having the most epic life. So when I'm laying on my deathbed, I'm just like, damn, that was a rad one. So with that being the case, down the road, I definitely want a brick and mortar location, even if
Mm.
it reduces productivity and costs me money, just because I basically just want to hang out with my friends.
Mm.
So
Love it.
fantasy factory all day, essentially, is what I'm saying, even if it doesn't make a profit.
Yeah. I like it.
Dude,
What about
I dig
what
that.
about
I
you,
dig
Sam?
that.
What
It's
do you
so good,
prefer?
man. And I
'Cause, yeah,
think,
you've been traveling all over, so I know you got some vibes from working from home and working in person. What do you vibe with, bro?
okay,
Oh,
there
yeah,
you
you,
go.
Sam?
You guys can hear me, yeah?
Yeah, he's talking to you, Mr. AI.
Oh, can you hear us, Sam?
Yeah, no, I got you. That was totally me. So it's an interesting thing. I think there's seasons, right? I think that I got to ask this question today, and someone was like, "Hey, what do you prefer? Do you prefer, because I'm right now I'm completely virtual. I'm 100% virtual, and I love it that way. I love it that way. I have an extremely low, small minute social battery, and Marlon's been with me, and he will see me, like we'll speak on stage and do meet and greet at the end, and then he'll look over at me. He's like, dude, Sam is withering away. He is dying right now. And I love meeting people. I love everything that we do, but like I just have a small social battery. And I'm very much in a season right now where I need supreme focus. And so, and it's the way that my business is structured, right? A lot of people, they run massive sales teams. And if you have a business that has a gigantic sales team, you need everyone to be on a sales floor at the highest level, right? To have the highest culture. So we look at how Grant Cardone structures things, how Andy Elliott structures things. You know, all these guys, their leverage is the the sales floor in a lot of things that they do. For me, you guys know a little about what I do behind the scenes and like the moves that I make in business, and everything that I do is different forms of leverage. I don't leverage human capital necessarily as much. I leverage systems capital. And so right now my business is structured in a way where I'm completely virtual. My directors who run pretty much all of my businesses, they're completely virtual too. It allows them to have the freedom to also, kind of like how Marlon puts it, my way of doing things allows my business directors to live and prioritize their lifestyle more than my business. And you know what that ends up doing? It makes them more committed to my business. Like, think of my directors, like, get all the days off they want. And as long as they get the shit done, they can like take off the next 3 weeks if they wanted to. Right? Like, I give them ultimate freedom to live life how they want to live life. And by giving them that space, I've found that it produces the best in them as long as I have the right people. So I know in the future, as my businesses continue to grow, I'll probably have to have like a centralized headquarters to some degree. You know, you can't run 20 business without having a headquarters in person, at least for your directors. But I look at guys like Hermosi. For the longest time, Hermosi, you know, ran a business that was doing millions and millions and millions and millions a month from his Las Vegas penthouse suite living room, and that was it. Or like in his little closet underneath the stairwell. So it's different leverage. So if you're in a business where you're in wholesaling and you're in your local market, and then you're very much a sales company, the highest leverage you can have is by having everyone on the same sales floor. And like, don't get me wrong, guys, I have a killer wholesale team. We crush it. But the reality is, I know that my culture could be better if we were all in person, but I'm okay with that trade-off. So for me personally, man, right now, I like being isolated. It allows me to focus, allows me to not have distractions. Like, between everyone here, I don't have friends here. Like, I have very few friends where I live in my local town. And it means that I don't go out, I don't drink, I don't party. I just work on my damn business. And that's what's fun for me. And like my lifestyle, my fun time is when I get to go and travel, like, and hang out with Marlon and hang out with Alejandro and hang out with Logan Manzanares. Like, that's my fun time. So that's a little bit about me, man.
Let's go. Mr. Sam, what do we have today, man? What is a treat?
Let's do it. I'm super excited about this one. I'm at a point now, guys, where I get hit up so much, so often by all these people who want to level up from either being a newbie to getting their first deal, to being a first deal, to their 10th deal, to 5 deals a month, to 100 deals a month. Getting all these people, and they keep asking me all these things about like, hey, how do I go in and increase my business and increase my proximity and learn the next level? And what I've constantly found is that there is kind of like this subtle like silence about which mentorships you talk about, which masterminds you talk about. And I think very often people kind of lock themselves into echo chambers, and they think that the one community, the one mastermind, the one mentorship they're in is going to be the one that's going to be with them forever. And so what I want to actually talk about today is the idea and the principle that as long as you, all right, I'm going to speak very clearly here. As long as you, the entrepreneur, want to continually grow and evolve and get better, I'm going to lay this foundation right now. You will need to get into more than one mentorship or mastermind or community. You can't do it. There is no one-stop shop. There's no end-all be-all. No matter what you think, no matter how many things they add, no matter how many Zoom calls they have, no matter XYZ, there is not a single one mastermind or one mentorship or one community that's gonna allow you to become a billionaire. A lot of people, guys, in Alejandro, you hear this all the time from people. It's like they're in one mastermind, one community. It's usually a newbie one. They just don't know it's a newbie one, and then they boister about how they're gonna make 10 million a year, 20 million a year. And it's like, dog, the only person making 20 million a year in your community is the person who owns the community. Like, that's it. So I want to have a candid, open discussion of the realities of masterminds, mentorships, coaching, all of these things. And I've kind of bit my tongue and not talked about these things until now. And it's because over the last 19 and a half months, I have spent $153,000 of my own money in mentorship, mastermind, one-on-one coaching, CEO coaching, in just high level proximity. And that's not like, and I'm not even including like me going out to a conference event. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the shit where I have ongoing membership, where I am a student in the room. 153 grand in the last just shy of 2 years. I think I am now at a point where I have the experience to talk about the realities between them all. And I see all of them because, one, I'm also at a point where I understand the business behind them all. Like, I understand the intention of, we were talking about the avatars and the niches last week. Marlon, who was on a totally different page than Alejandro and I was at the time, and he was talking about client avatars. But the reality is what he was talking about was perfect for today, because these mentorships and masterminds, guys, they all have a specific targeted avatar that they are focusing on. How do I know there's not a one-stop shop? Because there is no one-stop shop. Because the guy who's making 10 million a year will not get value in the same room as someone who's trying to make 100 grand this year. Just the way it is. It's the way it is. When you guys graduate first grade, you go to second grade. You don't stay in first grade. When you go from high school to college, when I was getting my master's degree, did I continue to take undergrad classes? No, because I would get no value whatsoever. And guys, this is why the higher level the room, the more secretive they are, the more they don't talk about it, the higher the price tag on it too. Okay. And very often these rooms are, guys, like, I'm going to be completely honest with you. This year, I'm going to do 2 separate mentorships. I've actually pulled out of several masterminds. I actually killed a mastermind that I thought I would be in for a long time. I pulled out of it recently because I stopped getting a return on it. And like, there's people in that room who are doing 8 figures a year, and I get no tangible return on my time, my investment, and my attention in that room because I've learned all there is to learn. But now I'm entering a new era of, becoming myself as an entrepreneur, and there's other rooms that I need to be in. So this year, I'm going to join 2 separate masterminds. One of them is effectively for industry leaders in the real estate space, primarily with a bunch of influencers. And there's a very strategic reason for me being in there. It's a lot of business dealings. And then the second one that's more important, and by the way, that first one, it's an invite only room that does 0 advertisement. They don't even have an Instagram page. But guess what? 95% of industry leaders and gurus and influencers and coaches, they're all in there, openly discussing their businesses, about the business of coaching, the business of running a community, running a mastermind, running a mentorship. So that's going to be one that I'm going to get into. Guys, I'm not going to learn real estate in there. I'm not going to learn how to go buy more property. I'm not going to go learn how to make more, raise more capital for multifamily syndication. It's a totally different, ideology behind it. And then the other one that I'm going to do is, I haven't decided if I'm going to join the mastermind or it's going to be one-on-one coaching. It's probably going to be one-on-one coaching, and that's going to be with a billionaire. In this billionaire, I'm not going to name who they are because, like, we're still having ongoing discussions about what this is going to look like. But it is basically a billionaire who is arguably one of the most connected human beings in all of entrepreneurship and business. And it's interesting because the discussions we're going to have with him, is it's not going to be real estate oriented. It's going to be around so many other things. It's going to be around bigger exponential plays behind all of business, behind starting, hundreds of companies, but behind acquiring hundreds of companies. So both these things, guys, by the way, one of them is probably going to cost me, I believe the price tag is 35 grand for the year, which is, for a high level mastermind, that's about what you'd expect. And then the other one, the one-on-one, is going to cost a minimum 100 grand per year, which honestly is low for the person and the proximity. It's extremely low. So this is what I want to do, guys. I want to, and let me know how you guys think about this, but I want to be very open and honest and give examples of like, these are the different tiers, and this is the evolution of an entrepreneur who's going to keep growing. And then based on the season that you're in, these are the programs that you're going to be in or want to be in. You guys cool with that?
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Let's make it happen.
Okay, so in the beginning, I'm going to pretend you're an entrepreneur who knows nothing about anything. You are a fetus. You don't know how to make money in business. You don't know anything about real estate. I'm going to be real estate specific here for the large portion of things. The reality is this: you're going to join a newbie product. And what do a lot of newbies need? They need some form of community. And I'm a huge advocate of the community model, right? I think that community models are great because it gives people a home. It gives them reassurance. A lot of times people do need the peer-to-peer social aspects. So a lot of newbie targeted communities, and like you're like, Sam, how do you know it's newbies? Look at how they target their pixel on their Facebook ads. Simple. Did you guys, and I'll save this for later. Any community can bullshit you and tell you that they're here, that they're there for everybody, and it's for the beginner and the advanced guy. If that was the case, they would target them all equally. They don't. When you run a Facebook ad campaign, when you're doing direct to seller targeting, or you're trying to sell a product, you can have that pixel target a million different things. And it is to the demographic specific. And these communities are specifically targeting people who've never done a deal, basically don't have money, and they'll usually use hooks like something to the effect of, here's how you're going to get your first deal, make your first 10 grand, make your first 15 grand, right? All these things in the next 30 days. This is where you're going to get a lot of this with wholesale oriented places, with a lot of places that are going to teach you how to buy rentals at the beginning. And here's the reality of these rooms. They're going to be typically transaction specific. So there's going to be, whether it's a mentorship or a community model, they're usually going to be based off of, this is how you do a cash wholesale deal, and there it's a wholesaling program. Or this is how you do creative financing, which is and that's going to be like the main kind of sticking point, is this is a creative financing community. Then I'm going to use Astro for an example. It is micro flipping, right? Or Astro flipping, it's micro flipping, which is just basically wholesaling a wholesale. Like, it's just this never ending loop. And then you have TTP, which teaches you how to do what? Talk to people. It's how to make cold calls. But here's the thing. If I'm doing 10 million a year, am I like trying to figure out how to call and cold call more people? No, I need increased leverage. So in the beginning, you're going to want to get into a community or a mentorship that teaches you the entry level things. Now, this is where people get caught. They're going to get caught. By the way, I'm going to be open and honest here. Most of these things, you actually know what they are based on their price tag too, because there is a market study. It's called product market fit. And like, it's just legitimate pricing analysis based on what you're delivering, who you're targeting. Like, the reality is this, guys, when you're targeting newbies who've never done a deal before and they don't know how to make money, can you charge them 40 grand for mentorship? They don't have it. Most of these programs are going to be no more than 10 grand. Very often they're going to have entry products that are going to be less than 5 grand. And there's an ascension to the higher tier. So you're going to get into these communities. You're going to make connections. You're going to learn how to do deals. You're going to learn how to get some form of income coming in that is higher and better than your salary or W-2. Okay. And you're going to stick in these communities. You're going to network and you're going to learn more. And then you're going to learn about the ecosystem. And in my opinion, the power of a newbie community, more than anything, the one true purpose it has isn't to actually teach you how to do deals. It's to show you the entire ecosystem and hopefully where you fit within that ecosystem. It's the whole point of it, in my opinion, is to pay down your ignorance debt of going from someone who knows nothing about anything to now you still aren't a specialist. You still don't know how to scale, but you know enough about the ecosystem where you can start actually moving forward. So anything you guys want to comment on that, on like the newbie kind of side of things?
Yeah, I would agree with you. Like, we're just kind of reiterating the fact that, like, at the beginning stages, the value of being able to be a part of that community for most people is just going to be, you need full immersion into the next level, into the next world. The way I look at it is very much, if I were going to learn Spanish, I'm probably not picking it up doing one class once per week, in a room for 6 months. Like, that's probably just not going to happen. what would be more beneficial to me beginning to pick up the language is to be fully immersed in other Spanish speakers, other people practicing the language, other people talking about it, obsessing about it. So those entry level places allow new individuals to essentially begin to immerse themselves into a new world. So, yep, but I agree with you 100%, Sam.
Sweet. I'm seeing Colleen just said she just joined sub 2 today with my link. I didn't even know that you had my link. I don't even know where you got my link. But amazing, thank you. Super stoked. Welcome to your first big community. It's in my opinion the best community there is in the industry. Sweet. So there's that, right? And I want you guys to understand this. This is not me speaking down or disparagingly based on the newbie communities. I just want you to understand that they are targeting very specific avatars for very specific things. And I literally had a discussion today. In this, I'm going to be very candid and open here. I've had this conversation with so many people, so these two guys, with people who are in these newbie communities, and then they eventually hit a wall. They will eventually almost always hit a wall, right? And the reality is, anytime you get into a room and you grow and grow and grow, guys, let's be honest here. What is the purpose of any community, mastermind, mentorship, coaching? It is for you to stay in it. Like, that is it. That is it. If you don't renew, if you don't stay in the ecosystem, if you come in, partake, and then dip out, good. I mean, like, they made the money, but the reality is they want you to stay because it's beneficial for you. I'm sure it is if you can find out how to leverage it, but it's also more beneficial for them because then you're staying there. You're an advocate. You're an ambassador. You're a diplomat in the room as a leader being positioned and postured, which showcases for the next wave of newbies to come in. Oh, this is what success looks like. And then I see a lot of people, they do this, they love it, they're in service, and then they get stuck. They learn how to make money. They don't learn how to run a business. And that's a huge sticking point for a lot of these people. And this is where you get people who've been wholesaling for 2, 3, 4 years, and they're still calling sellers, and they're still training cold callers, and they're still looking at the dialer every day to track KPIs and see, because they've been watching Think Big, they know to track KPIs, but it's still them doing it, right? They're the ones still communicating with titles, still communicating with the TC, still managing dispo operations if they have someone in place for it. What ends up happening is you run into this glass wall without realizing that you're running into a glass wall, and you can't figure out how to grow. And a lot of these communities, they have an ecosystem that's built on a mentality of doing joint ventures. It is the whole point of them. Guys, I'm going to be completely honest. Do joint ventures help the community? Absolutely. I do tons of JVs, right? I do tons. We actually closed like 3 JVs in the last couple of days. JVs are amazing. They're phenomenal. But the reality is JVs and how much they're pushed in certain masterminds. And guys, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. When you get to the high level masterminds, do you guys think they push JVs? They actually advocate against them unless you do them perfectly. And there's a strategic way to do them perfectly. So it's weird. The newbie mentorships only push JVs all day. Highest level mentorships actually discourage you from doing them. And here's the kicker. They're both right for the season that you're in. So what will happen is this. You're going to get into a newbie mentorship or a newbie community or whatever it is, and you're going to be pushed to do JVs. Why? Because you're probably broke, and you probably can't afford marketing, and you probably can't afford to do the business on your own. So you're going to leverage other people, right? You're going to go and talk to a seller and get them under contract, but then you don't have disposition set up. So what are you going to do? You're going to come and talk to my team because we're cartel bosses on Investor Lift. And then you're going to have us dispo your deal for you, and you're going to give us 50% or 40% or whatever we work out. Now, that's great. But here's the thing. If you keep doing that model for a year, you're going to make money. But are you ever evolving as a business owner? Are you ever growing? Are you increasing leverage? The answer is no. The answer is hell no, you're not. What's actually happening is you're learning how to only outsource and cap your business to where it's at right now. And the reason why these masterminds push the JV model so much is because what happens to their ecosystem if everyone learns how to do all of the business on their own? Does the ecosystem continue to thrive, or does it fall apart? The reality is this, guys. The reality is, in order for the ecosystem to stay alive, right? You guys have seen those. I'm sure you guys have seen those, like those, I think they're called terrariums. It's like a giant glass bowl and it's lidded and it's a perfect ecosystem that'll be self-sustaining for life, right? You guys have seen those, right? Well, what happens if the lid opens and one of the most important people, one of the most important people in that ecosystem leaves the bowl? It disrupts the ecosystem. And then it'll have a chain effect that'll kill the ecosystem over a long enough period of time. That's why those terrariums need to be sealed shut from all external factors forever. And a lot of these masterminds and mentorships, they're structured that way. A lot of these communities are structured that way because the second that we all learn how to do A through Z on our own and we don't need each other, guess what? Is there a point for us to keep staying in? No, we end up leaving. We graduate to the next level. And I'm going to speak very candidly and openly here. I'm a huge advocate of people evolving and growing and continuing to level up because I'm around people who want to grow. And if you're here, I think you do too. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to get to that level. And then you're going to be like, holy crap, I don't know how to get more deals outside of posting in Facebook more. Like that's my only way. My only way to know how to get more deals is to post more on Facebook about how I'm a closer or how I can lend on your deal or how I can dispo or whatever, right? Whatever it is, that's your only way of knowing how to get more deals and how to grow your business. Problem is, that's not a business, it's a hobby. It's a hobby because it's not predictable. And if it's not predictable, you can't KPI it. If you can't KPI it, you cannot scale it. And that's the reality. So what's going to happen is you're going to level out. And then you're going to wonder, hey, Sam, hey, Marlon, hey, Alejandro, how do I get to the next level? Like I'm stuck. And what you're going to do is you're going to hear us say, hey, you need to learn how to create a business. You've learned how to get a high paying job in being a wholesaler, in being a flipper, in being a lender, but you have no structure, no processes, no predictability. So you're a phenomenal hobbyist, but guess what? Your machine, your ecosystem, your business, quote unquote business, is paying you like a hobby because you've treated it like a hobby. So are you going to learn how to go and be a proper CEO in a newbie mentorship, Alejandro?
1000%, brother. 1000%.
No, you're not. You're not going to learn how to be a CEO. You weren't listening to me. It's okay. You're not.
Oh, I thought you said, am I going to go learn how to become a CEO on the mentorships that you're talking about?
Yes, but you're not going to learn how to become a CEO in a newbie community. A newbie community. No. Hell no. Hell no.
Sorry, I didn't hear that, brother.
No, you're good. You're good. You're too busy being attractive. That's what it is. Being attractive makes a lot of noise.
I'm taking
I understand why you can't hear me.
Right
there you go. So the reality is this, guys, you're gonna have to learn how to create a business. You're gonna have to learn how to become a CEO or a COO. And a newbie mentorship will not teach you that. I'm sorry, it won't. It doesn't want you to. The second that you become a CEO truly is the second that you are no longer a product market fit. You are no longer a client avatar fit. You have left the ecosystem. And if you want to grow, you have to leave the ecosystem to at least for some time so you can continue to evolve. So here's what's going to happen, guys. You're going to then, depending on the business model that you have, you're going to go find applied rooms. Okay. There are applied rooms for wholesalers. Yes.
I have a question, Sam. You've been to multiple different mastermind. I haven't had the luxury to do so yet. Why is it there's tons of people that join communities and still take no action? What the freak, bro? What is that for? Why did they do it? What are they looking for? I can't really get around it. Like, is it sympathy they're looking for? Like, I just don't understand it. I've seen people that have made hundreds of thousands of dollars by just having free content on YouTube from people like ourselves, mentorships and other mentors and stuff. And then you have people that pay $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 and still haven't gotten their first deal.
Yep. No, and you're right. And there's probably more of them than the former. So the reality is this, and we've actually done, I think, probably a few episodes of Think Big, at least a few episodes talking about this specific topic, right? Why people fail, why people lose, why people can't scale X, Y, Z. I would say first and foremost, it's a mindset thing, right? And to recap some of those answers that I remember that we came up with together was, in my opinion, it always comes down to they're not really in enough pain yet, right? They're maybe discontent with their life. They're not super stoked on their life, but they don't fucking hate their life yet. Guess what? The people who know what they're running away from, they're the ones who move, man. They move. But the people who are like, you know, I have a nice house and I drive a BMW. Yeah, I wish I could make more money and have more time freedom, but my job pays $250,000 a year. Like, that's comfortable. That's really comfortable. Like, are you really gonna, like, the beginning stages of entrepreneurship are hard, super hard. They require tons of sacrifice. And that sacrifice, right? The pain in that sacrifice, it can't be worse, or it can't be easier than the pain in your life. If my pain in my life, right, my distress in my life is a 10 out of 10, right? But the pain of being an entrepreneur is a 12 out of 10, it's harder. Am I really ever going to go and become an entrepreneur? Probably not, because it's safer. It feels more comfortable. It feels warmer where I'm already at. Now, if my pain in my life is a 10 out of 10, but to me, the pain of being an entrepreneur is an 8 out of 10, you're telling me it's easier to become an entrepreneur? I hate my life that much more than all the sacrifice of becoming an entrepreneur. It's going to be that much easier to stick to it. So I think that's part one. I think part two is people also confuse or conflate, and they confuse or they conflate activity with money-making activities. I think that's a huge thing.
Oh yeah.
Right. So we always talk about education, like information versus implementation. So a lot of times people will conflate learning. And learning's great, but you guys know this. There are so many people in all the communities that you, the three of us are in, who know way more about real estate than we do, and they've done less than 1% of the deals that we've done. Yeah, dude, I get this all the time. I get so many like DM warriors from the communities that we're in about all the things that they know how to do and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, you've made no goddamn money and you've been at your W-2 for the last 3.5 years. So like, this is the reality of the space. So I think people will conflate being on Zoom for 40 hours and going to networking events and flying out every 5 minutes of their lives to go and hang around with other people as that is activity. It is not money making activity. And if you want to grow and move the needle in your business, you need to prioritize MMAs, money making activities. So I think there's a million other reasons why, but I would say those are the two big ones for me, man.
Yeah, bro. I've seen people taking flights to different events in different states. You're in every meetup and you still haven't gotten your first deal, and you've been learning real estate for the past 2 years. I'm like, dude, what are we doing?
And you know every complicated transaction. You know how to do all the subtle nuances and how to handle every objection with every seller possible in theory. But guess what? You still don't call sellers. It's like, I know people who know every objection possible with a seller could ever bring up, and then they still never dialed the damn phone one time in their lives. And I'm like, you're the person that will fail. So I think there's a lot of reasons for that, but I'm going to get back to the topic at hand. And that's once you are, you're going to go through a real estate, newbie mentorship or a community model or something. And then remember, and this is actually the last answer to your question. I'm going to be honest here. Remember how I said the newbie communities and mentorships and masterminds, strategically, they don't want you doing a ton of deals. Because it's one thing for you to do a deal a month. Okay. If you're doing a deal a month, you will make money. You'll be a success story. You'll be a good testimony. But guess what? You haven't grown enough to the point to realize that you're bottlenecked. When you start going to 3 to 5 deals a month, you will start running into an issue of economies of scale. You will start running into logistical issues, financial issues, marketing issues, time constraints, bandwidth constraints, all these things, all these what we call growing pains that will come through actual success. But if you're doing, just so you guys know, the key for most of these newbie communities is for their people to not do more than 3 deals a month. You do more than 3 deals a month, you will start becoming obsessed with understanding how to run a business properly. Because any more than 3 deals a month, that's a lot for one person to handle. Like the amount of work that goes into doing 3 deals consistently every month, that's already a lot. To do 4 deals a month, now you're stretched. Now you're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, right? Now you have bandwidth issues. And when you have bandwidth issues and you have pain, guess what? You look for solutions. And then you take a step back and start looking around and realizing I need a solution and it's not here. And what happens to the ecosystem and your view of it? You become what we call disillusioned, and you will look for other answers, other solutions to your problem. And that will cause you to leave the community, leave the ecosystem. So eventually you're going to have to, if you want to grow, you're going to go and find the next step. And what's going to happen usually by that point is you're going to have some form of an avatar business understanding. You're going to realize I'm a lender, I'm a wholesaler, I'm a flipper, I'm a influencer, whatever the hell it is. You're going to realize that you have a business model that you want to pursue. Then what's going to happen is you're going to go find places or mentorships or masterminds or communities where everyone is usually in the same income bracket as you are. They're doing a couple 100,000. They know how to make money, but they don't know how to get to $1 million a year. They don't know how to get to 2 million a year, 3 million a year. And it's usually between that. The goal is for these next level places to get you from where you're at, couple 100K, to between 1 to 5 million a year. And they will do that not by you actually doing more deals. It's by you putting systems and processes and structure in place in your business. So that's where you get phenomenal rooms and you get operators who actually teach you how to do what? Become a CEO. And those are the places where you stop thinking about seller objections. You stop thinking about new and unique and fancy ways to do types of transactions and the newest and greatest, most convoluted freaking way to do one freaking deal. You actually learn about economies of scale in leveraging systems, processes, and other people's time. That's where you become a business owner. That's where you become a CEO, right? That's like evolution 2. Here's the thing. 99% of people will never make it to evolution 2. And the reality is there's about 3 more evolutions after evolution 2. Let me make sure I don't miss any questions or anything here.
No questions so far. I got you, brother.
And if you guys do have questions, like drop them in the chat, because this is a super, like, we typically will never be like this open and honest about all these things because it can be a little bit political sometimes. Okay. So what's going to happen is you're going to go and you're going to get into the next level room. You guys want to know who are some like phenomenal operators to teach you how to get to the next level room. You're going to get in the wholesale flip space. There's results driven. Tiffany High is, in my opinion, the best there is. Then you have other people too, like Gary Harper, who has the Sharper process. That's his business. And what he does is he teaches you how to hire, how to fire, how to create systems and operations and all these things. And they teach you how to view the business for the inputs and outputs that business actually is. You're going to maximize that. You're going to make $1 million a year. You're going to buy a lot of your time back. You're going to hire people. You're going to then go through the next level of growing pains where you're making a couple million a year. And this is what's going to happen. You probably have high expenses. You probably are at a point where you're making $1 million, but you're losing 300 grand on taxes. And then you're losing 200 grand on expenses and marketing and OPEX and overhead and all these things. And you're like, okay, great. I know how to create a business. I know how to automate, but I need next level growth. Now I need to understand the intangibles of entrepreneurship at a high level. I need to learn strategic partnering that can help me scale up in a really, really, really big way. So you've now evolved past level 1, the newbies, level 2, the applied mentorships. And I'm gonna be honest here, guys. I think in the beginning, you start with a newbie community kind of mastermind type model where it's a bunch of people in a room together and all pouring into each other. You're all networking, you're all communing. That's why they're called communities. And then in part 2, evolution 2, in my opinion, you need actual mentorship or coaching. Here's the problem. A lot of people, I know Marlon's kind of a stickler for these things, and rightly so. A lot of people confuse and conflate all these terms. A mentorship is not the same as a mastermind, and that is not the same as a community. Like that is, we have to be very clear. And that's also in a mentorship, even though it sounds the same, is not the same as coaching. One-on-one coaching is different than community or small group coaching or batch coaching. There's all these things. I want you guys to be very clear. So in the beginning, you're going to start with a community model, right? A community or a mastermind model where you get around a bunch of battle buddies and work on your mindset of wanting to be an entrepreneur. And then part 2, to learn how to become a business owner, I'm an advocate of going down a mentorship or a coaching route where you get intensive one-on-one time in your business, where you have all these people who are above you, not just like telling you, oh, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing, blah, 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 blah. It's none of that shit. It is, this is what works. This is how you hire. This is how you fire. This is how you track your KPIs. This is how you run meetings. This is how you develop as a leader. It is very much they are helping you build your business in the trenches with you. I believe in one-on-one mentorship or coaching at that point. Okay. Once you're down with that, now you're making a few million, you want to go to the next level. You want to go from 7 figures to 8 figures. This is where we go back into a mastermind model, but you're not going to go to a newbie mastermind. You're going to go to the next level, which is high level masterminds, right? And in the real estate space, there's 2 that are bigger than all others, and they're the most established, and they're the ones that I would personally recommend either or. And it's going to be, one is known as CG, it's Collective Genius. So if you guys ever go to them and like sign up, tell them Sam sent you. And then the other one is Boardroom with Kent Clothier. And then these places are where a bunch of usually lower 7-figure business runners will come together, and they will strategically partner with other 7-figure business owners who they're the answer to each other's problem, right? So it's very similar to a newbie community model, but now the baseline isn't everyone's a newbie. The baseline is everyone's doing probably $750,000 up a year minimum. And then what ends up happening is you start looking at business totally differently. This is where you can have real strategic partnerships that can help you kind of grow to the next level. So are we good with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fantastic. Now, you're going to be in these, right? The CGs of the world, the boardrooms of the world. You're going to learn how to, and you're going to be immersed around a bunch of other 7-figure a year owners. You're going to have some 8-figure earners in the room. Well, guess what? There's still another level past that. And this is why Collective Genius has an evolved room. Boardroom actually has another level to it called Billionaire Boardroom. And this is where, from a business standpoint, you go from being a 7-figure, 8-figure potentially to, like, you know, and like, don't get me wrong, guys, like 8 figures, that's minimum 10 million, but there's a huge difference between 8 million and 99 million, right? That's a massive differential. So in Billionaire Boardroom, places like that, you're going to learn how to go from like 10 million a year to 20, 30, 40, 50, because then you start going over verticals, you go from massive scalability, all these things. And the goal of these rooms is eventually to get you to a point where your entire ecosystem is starting to get close to the 9-figure mark, either in value or in revenue production over a certain amount of time. Those rooms are extremely protected. So when you get to those places, what's going to end up happening is you're going to have very unique, interesting discussions. And the discussions usually are around selling businesses. It's about how do we grow businesses, structure them, scale them, make them appropriate for a big sale at the end. This is where people go from being 8-figure earners to being 9-figure earners to potentially becoming billionaires. This is where that room is made. Now, I want to go back a little bit to some intangible stuff, guys. Like, as I mentioned earlier, like I'm going to be joining a private mastermind that's invite only. Like, it's like you have to be invited by like a senior member and all this kind of fancy stuff.
Damn.
That's a specific room, and it's a room for influencers in our industry. It's predominantly our industry in real estate for that one room that I'm going to be joining. And guess what? Are they talking about like systems and processes and like how to hire people to delegate your time? No, they're not. They're teaching you how to do other things, like create products and sell stuff to your audience, to your following, to all these things. And you guys know me, I'm not going to become a coach. I'm not going to do mentorships. Hell no. But I understand the value of being in the room with those people because there's leverage that comes with that. So there's rooms for that. And this is the same in every industry, guys. You guys want to go and become a business buyer. Like, I know of rooms where it's invite only. They usually will cost $150,000 plus, usually for just a couple days, but the rooms are run by billionaires. And what they do is they teach you and they show you how to structure things and how to do gigantic roll-ups and, you know, grow your company's valuation across the board. There's an insane growth to those rooms, and they're extremely hard to get into. They are probably the most protected rooms there are. And that's why that's like, for me, right, I'm going to be doing the one-on-one coaching very likely by the end of this year with a billionaire. And this billionaire, he has that type of room. He actually has a separate mastermind, which I'll probably join later. And that mastermind is for people who are just absolutely crushing. They're all doing, I mean, I think the majority of them are doing probably close to 9 figures a year, if not more. And some of the biggest brands that, like, I'm not even going to talk about or like name them, some massive brands in social media are in that room. And what they're doing is they're all coming together collectively to troubleshoot each other's problems at scale. Because in the beginning, your problem is you don't know how to talk to sellers, right? But when you're doing $750,000 and you want to get to $1 million, your problem is you don't know how to structure a business and automate and then achieve scalability and have that as an option. Now, when you're doing 1 million versus 5 million, usually the thing that's holding you back from doing 10 million is an economy of scale of reaching and entering new marketplaces, right? You start leveling up your problem incrementally and increasing your leverage. And what ends up happening is when you're doing 20 million versus 100 million, like what's really missing a lot of the times is the gasoline on the fire, right? It's how do you tap into more money, into more resources? Yes.
I want to touch base on what you said there because you just kind of zoomed through it. This is something that I learned the hard way is every time you solve something new, there's always going to be a new problem ahead of you. And it's going to be, like Sam said, a bigger problem. There's tons of people that think, ooh, once I hire this person, that problem is going to be gone and I'm going to be able to take my vacation. No. It's this bigger problems now that you have to solve. Sam, can you like really, I know we have short time. Can you elaborate just quickly on that and what that means? Because I think if I'm talking to my past self, my 2 years ago. So I wish someone would have told me this.
So I love this saying. I was actually taught this saying by someone who's a mentor to all of us. That's Pace Morby, and he taught me the phrase "every level has a new devil." Right, and that's true. It is absolutely true. The reality is, this is where people stop and they become complacent. Is they will achieve an evolution. They will learn how to hire a certain role. They will get their time back. Great. I'm not a closer anymore. I hired a closer. Now I don't have to sit on the phones all day. You know what ends up happening, Alejandro, is they get all this time back, but they don't go solve a new problem, right? Or they don't understand how to deal with the bullshit that will come from hiring a closer. Because what if that guy leaves in a month, right? What if that guy leaves in 2 months? If you don't have structured SOPs if you don't know how to recruit, hire, train, onboard, and retain talent, you will be caught, in my opinion, what I see across the board as the entrepreneurial death loop of a sales and marketing company, which is your acquisitions people, your sales reps, your closers, your lead managers. It's a revolving damn door. And you guys know it, and I know it. We can go into the mentorships that we're all in, and every 2 months, the same 10 guys are hiring for lead managers over and over and over and over again. So what ends up happening is they learn how to upgrade a little bit, right? But when you learn how to hire, guess what? You're also going to have to learn how to fire and how to replace. And they don't do that second part for it.
Because of you, Sam, I actually spent, I think, Marlon, you were doing it with me while I was doing it as well, is SOPs for your businesses. Remember that time? It took us like a week to complete those SOPs. Dude, that was, oh my God, I was daunting. But once I completed it, I was so happy. Because a problem that I see here with new people that try to start a business is that once they see their employee make a mistake, they instantly think of, oh, I'm just going to fire you. You're not working out. Dude, you don't even have an SOP in place. How can you blame the employee for doing a mistake that you haven't even told them to avoid? And they're like, oh, this is not for me. Like, I got the wrong employees. No, you are the wrong owner, sir. You have to have your SOPs in place so all the employees can understand the mistakes to avoid and the consequences of the mistakes, the consequences that can happen when they do that mistake. I have all of that stuff right now. Anytime some mistake happen, hey, what did the SOP say? I feel so good, man. I feel so good, bro, that I spent a week doing an SOP. So Sam, thank you, brother. Thank you for encouraging me.
Dude, absolutely. And it's funny, guys. Like, you guys know this. I'm a guy who I'm not going to spend the time to build the SOPs myself. I'm just going to pay someone who has the highest level SOPs. And that shit costs a lot of money. Like, I've spent 25 grand for SOPs, and I'll do it again. And I'm about to probably drop another 30 grand in SOPs very, very, very soon for something. The the reality is you can build them yourself or you can pay for them. And I want to actually implement this and tell people to look into this. I want you guys to get tangible value. Anytime you have people in the business and shit happens, right? They suck, or you're not sure if it's them or if it's you or if it's a systems, blah, 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 blah. Number one, it always comes down to leadership. It's always leadership's fault, right? Unless like that person walks in and cusses everyone out and they're on drugs or something, like it's usually on you. What I want you guys to go do is look at a book, and then you don't have to read the book if you're not a reader, but go look at this, this study. It's called Gapology. Gapology, Gapology. Gapology is basically in a very streamlined framework shows you, okay, problem occurs. Did I hire them properly? Did I train them properly? It's a step-by-step like troubleshooting. You guys know when your internet goes out and then you go into troubleshooting and it says step 1, check this, step 2, check this, step 3, check this. And what you're doing is you're checking off the boxes and process of elimination. Boom, Gapology. Once you study, what's going to happen is you're going to process of elimination. By the end of it, you're going to identify and isolate what the real problem was, and then you can isolate it and answer it and figure it out and remedy it right then and there. Study Gapology. It's really important for leaders. Really important for leaders to understand that. Dude, I love that. So, but the reality is this, guys. I'm going to be blatantly, brutally honest here. You may end up being worth $50 million one day if all you do is stay in a newbie community. Like, probably, like, but it's going to take you 20 years to do it. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in the next 5 years, even, not even close, because you don't understand how to increase leverage. Anytime you feel a plateau, you feel an invisible wall stunting your growth. You feel like, man, I'm doing all the things, but like, I'm still in the same position, in the same income bracket, in the same, kind of leverage position as I was 6 months ago. Guess what? You haven't grown as an entrepreneur. You've maybe learned the lessons, but you haven't upgraded yourself and forced yourself to do new and unique and better things. So the reality is this, for all my people, especially all the guys out there who want to be billionaires, because as guys, we kind of beat our chests and do that. We always say we want to be billionaires. The reality is you're not going to become a billionaire if your entire level of self-development is consumed by one $10,000 mentorship, and that's it. Like, that is it. Marlon, you and I hang around, and you and I know so many people who are making hundreds of millions plus. Have any of them paid? I mean, I would say I don't know a single one who hasn't paid at least $500,000 throughout their lifetime in mastermind and coaching development.
Yeah, I would say on average, what I see is about 10% of their income goes towards their personal development. So as their income increases, you're talking about a person that, let's just say, is making $1 million. You're looking at $100,000 going towards personal development, and that's on the low end. And then, as that goes up, you're looking at a person that when they're making $5 million, you're looking at $500,000 going directly to personal development, coaching, mentorship, and just paying to be in the room, paying to play.
That's so good. It's so funny that you mentioned. I mean, that's like relatively close. So for me, I'm a low 7-figure earner right now, but over the last 2 years of being in entrepreneurship, as I started a little bit over 2 years ago, I put $153,000 into coaching, masterminding, development, mentorship. And as I'm scaling it back about the amount of masterminds I'm doing, what's happening though is each one that I'm getting into costs more money, is more selective, and increases my leverage through the roof. So now they're even becoming more expensive. So now I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to be paying a billionaire $100,000 a year just to be my one-on-one coach, which if I were to tell you guys who it is, you'd be like, what the hell? That should cost you $500,000. So the answer is this: if you want to keep growing, if you want to do more than just do some wholesale deals and maybe flip a few properties, and if you want to do more than just $1 million a year and you want to grow past that, you have to accept that you're going to have to grow, and you're going to have to, leave the nest in whichever nest you're in. And that's never easy. It's always difficult, especially because a lot of these masterminds and mentorships and communities, a lot of times they're very sticky, right? A good business is what we call sticky. It makes you want to stay in. It makes you feel warm. It makes you think that you're around a campfire and that campfire is amazing. If you go off on your own, you're going to freeze to death. And like there's kumbaya around it. So the reality is this, guys, in my opinion, everyone should start understanding what season you're in. And here's what's funny, guys. I want to be very open and honest with you guys. Do you think the people who are running the communities you're in, the masterminds you're in, the mentorships that you're in, the coaching, your coach, do you think they're not elevating themselves and upgrading themselves by going into higher level coaching on their own? Every mentor that I have who has a mastermind or a coaching product or a community or whatever, all of them are dropping probably at this point like up to millions so they can develop themselves. But here's the funny part. Every mentor I have that I've ever paid, they all do the same thing in their coaching products. Alejandro, it's actually hilarious. They'll all drop. I know I have a mentor right now who's paying a billionaire $250,000 for one-on-one coaching, for one-on-one sessions. And this mentor will do that because they know they need to grow, but they will turn right around in their mastermind and tell everyone that's in their community or their training program that they will never need to leave that room because that room has everything they will ever need. And what that does, though, is it creates an invisible wall, an invisible ceiling, a glass ceiling where you can't grow past it because by default, the room is structured in a way for you to never grow past it. So even Master Splinter had a master. Like, there you go. That's a good one. I never had anyone make a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle joke on this. Dude, we are at the mark. We are at the time.
Dude, good stuff, man. I mean, I got like a full notebook of notes here. I was just taking notes tonight.
My man was cooking.
Yeah. I'm going to say this, guys, as someone who, as someone who is adamant about upgrading myself and paying down my ignorance debt and compressing time, I'm continually going to be pouring into myself, right? And that goes beyond a $10,000 mentorship, right? I'm going to keep finding the next mastermind, the next thing, the next growth period. I want to learn how to become a better influencer. So what am I doing? I'm like snuck my way into an invite-only room where the best influencers in our industry are all together collaborating, not on real estate, not on doing deals, not on buying houses, on the business of being an influencer. So it's like, understand that as you grow, there's a new space for everything. You want to learn how to buy businesses? There's a newbie room for that, an advanced room for that, one-on-one coaching with billionaire for that. There's a ton of stuff. So every industry, every possible thing you can think of has all of these things. And then like last pro tip here, I don't do this because I'm not there yet. I have mentors who do 100 million a year plus, and they will buy exotic cars or yachts or XYZ not to have them. You guys know why?
Taxes.
Because it gets starts the conversation.
To be around the right people.
There you go. What happens when you have an exotic Ferrari that costs $500,000? That is your ticket to entry at a private car club where everyone else also has a disposable income in whatever industry they're in to drop $500,000 on a car. There are yacht clubs, right? There are all these things. You will go and there are people who will buy like Rolexes and certain like collector watches. Why? Because it gets them access to other rooms. The higher level we get, the more intangible and nuanced and secretive these things are. And if we keep growing, eventually we will all be a part of the Illuminati.
That's next level sauce right there.
Okay, that is it. That is it for me today, guys.
Love it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so guys, yep, do the thing. So if you guys are first time here, make sure that you go ahead, hit that like, subscribe, leave a comment, let us know. These episodes come out live every single week, Tuesdays at 5 p.m. Arizona time. So we'll be back here next week for episode 69 of